Hey, Commissioners, the meeting is live.
Okay. I'll call this July 18th meeting of the Riley County Commission to order. Please, everybody join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Enjoying this beautiful, almost fall-like weather in the morning.
Nice.
Yeah, I can, summer gives us this the rest of the summer. I could be pretty happy.
That would be nice.
I don't think that's probably what's gonna happen, but looking at the forecast, though, it's supposed to stay somewhat nice, so we'll live with it.
All right.
To be hot next week. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the fair, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Over 100.
No matter what the weatherman says at this point, we know it's gonna be hot.
Yeah. Humid, hot, yeah. That's the joy of doing that at the end of July. Yeah. Okay, well, with that said, we'll start off with some public comment this morning. Anybody? Public? Anybody? Okay. We'll close out public comment and we'll move on to commissioner comments. Let's start with Commissioner McKinley.
All right, well, Monday, after our meeting, met with Megan Lewis to discuss some stuff about community corrections. Tuesday, I met with Amanda about the prep for the strategic planning retreat. After that, heading to Flint Hills Veterans Coalition, starting to do more planning for the Veterans Day Parade. They had Dan Culbertson there from Kansas Works, discussed his duties. His whole function is working with disabled veterans to help them find employment. Then later I had a short meeting with Rich and stuff. Saw the new open spaces clerk's office. I told Lori, wow, you got your own office now.
Yeah.
Then in the afternoon, I had a phone call with Chris Schultz, who's the Leonardville mayor. He's new to the position, kind of wanted to discuss exactly how the county works in relation to the cities. And it was a good conversation. He had some good questions about how things work, how the city and counties do. And that was a good conversation with him. And then tomorrow morning, in celebration of my birthday, we're having grand opening for the ribbon cutting for the Ashland Fire Station.
Put on a birthday hat.
That's a good one.
You're bringing cake for all of us tomorrow, right?
That work. Okay.
Okay, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, Monday afternoon, I had several appointments and spent the afternoon catching up on some things at home. And it was my birthday, so I kind of relaxed and had a good time.
And you didn't bring us cake on Monday either.
No, I didn't.
Man. Can't
I had
remember.
one that night, but it got eaten. Not just by me.
Okay.
Tuesday, I did have a new meeting at church and then came into my office there to go over some paperwork that was sitting on my desk. Had a meeting with Megan Lewis to discuss some issues going forward. Tuesday night, some friends had a birthday dinner for me and we had a great time. We ate all the cake.
Thanks.
Wednesday, did some intense yard work in the lower part of my lot next to the creek. A lot of overgrown vines and bushes that I cleared out. And it was really, really hard work. I actually ended up sitting on the ground and pulling as hard as I could to get these vines out of the trees. So it was a lot of fun.
As long as they weren't poison ivy vines.
Well,
Good thing she's sitting next to you and not me.
well, no, I was fortunate. I have done a lot of poison. I've got a lot of work to do with that. You know, there's quite a bit poison ivy down there. So, let's see. Well, in the afternoon, yesterday I went over today's agenda and documents and ran some errands. And this morning I attended Good Morning Manhattan at 4 Points. That's it.
Okay, been a busy week. Monday afternoon, I attended July meeting of the Riley County Law Board at Manhattan City Hall. Some of the items we discussed was passage of the consent agenda, several comments from the public. I heard from the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 17. Had some board member comments who moved on to the general agenda, which included Director Pete discussing several service awards that were presented. We also discussed fall meetings out in the county, which will take place in the cities of Randolph and Riley this year. Passed a resolution to go along with that, allowing us to be able to do so. We also discussed and passed the 2024 Midwest High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Topeka DEA Task Force Agreement. If you want to make an acronym out of that, go ahead, but I'm not doing it. We also heard from Captain Hayek and Garrett Baker and Bruce McMillan from Baker and Associates on the RCPD feasibility study. We'll be hearing about that this morning as well. And we finished out with 2 executive sessions dealing with attorney privilege, client privilege, and non-elected personnel. Tuesday afternoon, attended the monthly Board of Directors meeting with the Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce. Among the items of discussion there were approval of the consent agenda, minutes from the June meeting, update on financials through June, and all their membership accounts. Discussion items included an update from the MATC expansion. They've got a ribbon cutting coming up at the end of August to complete that. That's been a major project. That's all I can say there. Discuss federal issues, discussions, which include some needs on behalf of both Fort Riley and Kansas State. A change on the date and time for the September meeting that coincides with Kansa United Way's kickoff campaign. Updates on the Child Care Accelerator and possible business park, local housing, and a growth strategy update. I also gave the county ex officio report and heard from various reports from all the other various staff. Wednesday morning was also part of our roundtable discussion at the chamber on a national security crossroads. This is a partnership with local entities from the Missouri Department of Economic Development to help protect and enhance the performance of defense and security assets in this region. This particular region stretches from here in Riley County all the way through the St. Louis area and Scotts Air Force Base, which is actually on the other side of the river there in Illinois. So that's kind of the area we're dealing with here. There's a matrix team that's been put together to review the fiscal year 24 Department of Defense and Department of Homeland Security procurement policies in Kansas and Missouri, and is meeting with the important stakeholders to develop a plan for key industries and for workforce development in these areas. Plans should be out and available sometime early in the fall. They were meeting in this area, obviously, with all the strategic partners, and so I sat in on that. Wednesday afternoon, I attended a community land trust lunch and learn up at the College of Architecture and Design at K-State. The event was put together to help area stakeholders understand a bit more in detail about what CLTs can do and how it might work for affordable housing, and how Habitat for Humanity of the Northern Flint Hills, that's what they've rebranded and named, aims to use this as a tool to do so. Also, we heard members from the Lawrence Community Housing Trust, and I can't remember what their official title was, Tenants for Homes. Yeah, okay. They were also here to discuss what they're doing over there in Lawrence. I thought that was actually interesting to hear bits and pieces about what they've done. They've been doing that for quite some time now. So Rich was there, Anna was there, Bryant was there. They can share anything they want on that as well. There should be a summary and a dialogue coming out shortly, and when it does, we'll certainly get that over to you. I thought it was a pretty good conversation. Area stakeholders were there, and we bounced ideas back and forth and had a pretty good dialogue. What will come of it, I don't know just yet, but at least we're talking about something more than just the issue itself. So I think that was pretty good. So also Wednesday afternoon, attended the monthly meeting of the Flint Hills Metropolitan Organization via Zoom. Among the items of discussion there were also an update on financials. Staff updates also included the EV readiness plan that we've been discussing for quite some time, Connect 2050, the TDM model, the I-70 and K-18 intersection up there. I guess that's exit 303. KDOT's going to be doing a massive overhaul of that. Meaning of their current office space, which used to be just right across the way there. They're going to be dumping that into some more of a kind of a virtual model, still kind of in the works. Got an update from KDOT, passed the minutes from the March meetings. That was actually the last time we met. We also approved amendment number 3 to the Transportation Improvement Plan and discussed the Transportation Emissions Reduction Plan area projects list. And after those were discussed, we passed and then adjourned. And then I too attended Good Morning Manhattan this morning at 4 Points. Tonight's presentation was from Brendan Worth, Political Affairs Director for the Kansas Farm Bureau. and discuss the Engaged Kansas program, which is a nonpartisan collaborative partnership with statewide advocacy organizations promoting civic engagement and activities from the local and state levels. So that's it.
Ready for business, commissioners?
Yep.
First item I have is I need a motion to approve the indemnification and hold harmless agreement for the Call Valley Rodeo, cereal malt beverage sales.
I just like that title, indemnification, hold harmless.
I'll start putting it on.
Be like an album title or something for like a heavy metal band or something.
I can see it. I can see it.
Maybe started. Okay, I would make a motion to approve that the board sign the agreements for the indemnification and hold harmless agreement for the Cobb Valley Rodeo for the beer sales in the arena.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the indemnification and hold harmless agreements for the Cobb Valley Rodeo and beer sales in the arena during the Raleigh County Fair. Something tells me we just became very popular. All in favor?
Aye.
All three signed, please.
And just as some background for those, anybody watching, this dates back to when the previous board first allowed this, and condition was that there be a number of provisions involving insurance protection, control of sales, that kind of thing, and that's what it represents.
And they never had any problem.
No. Nope, it's worked very well. Never had to use any of the protections that are afforded in there. And the idea was just to be upfront with the vendor and the attendees as to what was going to need to be done in order to make it happen.
Steve French, previous RCPD assistant director, was one of the first ones to bring that.
A long time ago.
Steve, yeah, Steve, that's dad.
That's the dad, yeah. He was the assistant director with Alvin Johnson, who's county commissioner. I've been here a day or two.
Or three.
These are some good old guys.
Yeah,
I still see Steve. It seems like I run into him in Menards fairly frequently.
I could see that.
Yes.
See that. I went to school with the youngest daughter, Nikki.
Didn't even know they had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knew the boys.
Yeah.
Didn't know they had a sister.
I've been here a day, maybe not two, but a day.
I was in class in grade school.
Okay.
Mm.
And we graduated the same year in high school. I'm not going to mention what year, but
I know.
Yeah. Next, commission need a motion on the advisory board appointments and resolution.
I have a question.
Mhm.
On the Joint Corrections Advisory Board, what's the difference between the adult term and the juvenile term? It's the same person. What is that?
they're two different boards.
You know? Is that- It doesn't,
It is two
Joint
different.
Corrections Advisory Board is how it's listed for the same. That's why I was confused. But there's the juvenile board and there's the adult.
Yeah,
board.
by
Okay,
statute,
so
yeah.
he's on both of them.
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay,
When he used to be the old principal over at Ogden Elementary.
oh,
He does have a corrections background.
You see the terms are 1 year different time period.
yeah, I saw that. It just sense.
Yeah, it does look odd. I'd agree.
I move to approve and sign the appointment letters and resolution 07-1824, appointing Riley County representatives to the advisory boards.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to sign the appointment letters and resolution number 07-1824, resolution appointing Riley County representatives to advisory boards. All in favor?
Aye.
All three sign, please. You. Next, commissioners need a motion on tax roll correction.
I have a question. Where is Limey Point? What is that?
Yeah. Pine Point is the little road.
Oh, that over there. Oh,
Through this restaurant. That is the
Yeah.
IHOP. The only one at restaurant road, it's in Riley County.
Yeah, it's the one right there. It's the only one.
yeah, I always thought that was Pike County, yeah.
Yeah.
Restaurant is, and I think parking lots and part of the parking lots in Pot County, and
Oh,
I was just gonna say that,
There's a
'cause I
little
remember
zigzag
that.
right
we had to
Yeah.
work out an agreement on that.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
The K-State Real Estate, or the KSU Real Estate Fund LLC, which building, is that on
That's
the
the
new
cat's
building?
cover. The cat's cover.
That's that new building over there. Fairly new.
Just renovated.
It was,
Yeah,
It
it
was
was
renovated building. There's an older building that was renovated.
Looks really good.
It was, yeah,
Student center.
single
church
center,
student
yeah,
Yeah.
religious,
Something, right?
I don't know what they call it, place where you can worship.
It used to be at Acomedal.
It was building a multicultural center over there, all that transferred.
Oh, yeah, all
And then
that.
left it open.
Okay, I would make a motion to accept the tax roll corrections.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the listed tax roll corrections. All in favor?
All right,
Chair, please sign. Thanks, Anna. Have a good weekend.
now line your point just didn't ring a bell to me. Where is it?
That's what I had you looking on the front. Well, it's really what, well, it's in Puck County, I don't know, it's.
Yeah, I didn't realize it.
That was the first.
Into one.
Was that the first restaurant that went up there, or was it Wendy's? I can't remember.
Wendy's was there.
Wendy was there first. Then it was IHOP.
Go back. The road there.
Any changes to the minutes, commissioners?
Move to approve the minutes of the July 15th meeting as presented.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the July 15th meeting of the Riley County Commission as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Tentative agenda is okay, Commissioner?
Yeah.
Any items for next week's press conference? We do have the ribbon cutting for the fire station tomorrow. 8 o'clock. Next, you have Mr. Holman at 9:30.
It was a Wildcat Park yesterday. There's a truck in the parking lot. Usually somebody like
Mhm.
Guys, I'm looking around, as I'm walking in the park, I hear this music. Playing. It's having fun. There's a lot of, there was somebody had a hammock starting up between a couple trees.
Mhm.
I was just having a great time by himself.
Just chilling out.
Just chilling out with this music going on. I went, oh, hi, yeah,
It's
it's
a
a good
great little
time.
secret, quiet spot, you
really
know, that's
quiet.
underutilized, I
Oh,
think.
it's great.
You know, I haven't been there forever. And yeah, it's really neat little park.
All those trees and everything's really
All those
nice.
walnut trees are planted in there.
Yeah, imagine old. Let's see, Mara probably playing things.
I need to go down there and look. It's been so long since I've been down there. I'd be probably impressed with how big those trees are now.
They're huge and they're
Are
all
they?
in rows.
Yeah, they
you
planted
know.
them intentionally.
And it's so shaded and nice because, you know, like if you're taking the dog, it's great. Because you don't have any contacts. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's not so hard
He
to
loves it.
beat.
Yeah, he loves it. We go out there and play ball
Yeah, I need to go down there just to see it. It's been so long.
and the crops around it.
Mhm.
So Jeff's got some, I'm sure he's got some cleaning going in there.
Yep.
Soybeans over on the other side. It's really nice.
Yeah.
I think we go down there almost every night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good for you.
It's just like a couple of miles from the house.
Yeah.
IHOP?
No, the Wildcat Park.
Oh, okay.
You probably haven't been to Wildcat Park. Is like if you're going towards Keats, you go through the roundabout. It's about 2 miles up there.
I'm
And
not
it's
sure.
a county park. It's really cool.
I don't know that I've been there. I have been to Keats Park.
Yeah, Keats Park is good.
I was impressed.
That's a nice little park.
This is a more wooded, like secluded, you know, no playground equipment or anything. It's really cool. It's really a neat little gym in the community a lot of people aren't aware of.
Well, there's
It's
2
really
picnic
neat.
tables there. You can have a picnic. It's got a it's got an outhouse
Be a
there.
nice little weekend jaunt for you and your fiance. When she gets here, it's a cool little spot. It
I
really
was-
is.
I was thinking, right before you said that, I mean, I've been looking for a picnic spot and I love,
Oh, that'd be a great little picnic
It's
spot.
shaded, you know,
Yeah.
there's all these trees. You're just to be amazed at the trees. You can walk through this little creek area. And creeks that run, Wildcat Creek runs through it and also Natalie's Creek goes. So it's kind of-
that's cool. Well, I can't wait to go.
I
It
just-
really is cool. A lot of people,
Yeah.
even about myself, don't utilize it. It's just
You just
nice
have to
little
walk
walk
with a
back.
lot, just a little bitty sign there on.
Yeah, actually, you really,
Yes,
and come
it
up over a hill and you gotta watch as people come by, but it's really cool. There, I was telling Rich, there was a guy there last night that had a hammock strung up, and I've never seen that before.
There used to be a
Play-
swing on a tree into the creek where people jump into the creek years ago. There used to be a swing on a tree. there.
Wildcat Creek?
Mhm.
Yep.
And you go down, that path has really been eroded. You really have to go like to get down to the creek.
I'm gonna go check it out.
Yeah, you need to. It's really. I go out there almost every evening with my dog
That's
when in the heat, you know, it's really nice. Of course, not everybody will be there. So.
Commissioners, I don't really have anything in terms of an update. I'm glad to answer anything you got on any pending projects, but giving you more time. Use as you see.
Okay.
Thank you for signing the indemnity agreement.
So the next commissioner's man web 950.
950.
Yep. 950.
Well,
Maybe take a jaunt over Wildcat Creek. Show Brian.
good idea. You can turn back.
They had to floor it on the way back.
Yeah.
It's a county park, you know, as Keats is a county park. too.
Yeah.
We take really good care of it.
I was struck when I went to Keats Park.
It's amazing. And all the little trees that people have planted
Oh,
and the
yeah.
memorial trees and
That park gets a lot of use,
Yeah,
that building out there.
and I just think it's a cool layout and I mean. It's such a wonderful community resource.
Oh, it is. Everybody meets there. It's just a
Yeah.
whole time. They're gonna have their community meal is next week.
Oh. That'll be cool.
Yeah. It's next.
Yeah, they're very active community.
Yeah, it
They
is.
have meals almost every month.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
We
the
can't
last,
Lions, so it's.
the last Wednesday, and they have Lions Club and the Lydia Chapel. That's good. That's pretty active.
Great, could I touch base with you? Sure.
That's cool. You've been to Keats Park because that's.
Yeah, it was part of we went on a tour of different places, staff and I did,
Mhm.
right, to help me get acclimated to the county. And that's one of them that they really, I mean, I've since driven up there, to the area
Sure.
since then. Right, but we stopped off and it was cool that we had business up there, but it was cool to, at that time, the park, our guys were out working on it as
Mhm.
well. And so I got to see that, but I was just impressed with the facilities and how well maintained it is.
Yeah, they have that, the meeting room in that building. Did
Uh-huh.
you get to see that? That's a nice meeting room. It's cool.
Yeah, I didn't get to check that out, but that's kind of my next, one of my goals is to hit all of our facilities, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I want to see all of them in person. And I mean, we're spread out,
Yeah,
but it's an attainable goal. And so, and I enjoy driving anyway, and I mean, I love how picturesque our county is.
oh, it's great.
It's just beautiful.
You ought to get Russell to take you on a tour of all the fire stations.
It'd be cool.
It took us, let's see, I went with him, it took us like 2 days.
Yeah,
We're clear up in the northeast corner, up in Maine. And I had never been that far up in the county.
mhm.
It was really interesting to go all the way around and see all the different fire stations.
That's one of the things that I love about, I'm so excited to be here for, and one of the things that I just love about county government is that, yeah, we have this big population center in Manhattan,
Yeah,
but that's only part of our job.
yeah,
And I never lose sight of that in that, because I mean, our family homestead was right near, we were in Sumner County, down south of Wichita, but it was right near the Sedgwick-Sumner County line. And my brother still represents Cheney, Kansas,
oh, really?
right? Yeah, which is as far west as you can get in Sedgwick County before you hit Kingman, right? And so a lot of people, my mom, she retired working from the Sedgwick County Counselor's office, right? But a lot of people, when they think of Sedgwick County, they think of, Wichita.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, when I think of Sedgwick County, Wichita's only, even if you put all the suburbs together, it's only 1/3 of the area of the county.
Yeah.
The rest of it is purely rural. And I grew up driving those roads.
That's interesting, because I only think of Wichita.
Yeah. I mean, so growing up driving those roads and everything, and I think of Sedgwick County from a more rural perspective, and I think almost anyone else does that doesn't live there
Yeah,
and out in the rural parts. And so that's kind of the approach I take to Riley too, is that, I love Manhattan. Don't get me wrong, I love Manhattan, right? But I equally love and I don't know if I'm gonna get to buy land at this point in my life or not, but I was already looking at putting down roots, obviously.
yeah,
And so I was up driving in the northern part of the county looking at some land,
mhm,
right? Just to Because it wouldn't be bad to build.
No, it wouldn't be. And, you know, even up like towards the Keats area, this close into Manhattan, there's some, every once in a while, some of those homes along in there come up for sale.
Yeah.
You know, there was one recently, but I tell you, anytime I start getting overwhelmed, I just take a drive, go out in the country. And
Yeah.
that's what's so reliable. It's been a lot of that lately, so I'm trying to.
Well, I too, that's where I'm really fond of saying that because I've driven so much in the Flint Hills, right? And I've lived in the Flint Hills before. And I have spent so much time. They're as much home to me as anywhere else.
Mhm.
And so you're like that peace that you find out driving and being in and amongst them.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel. I'm just, I couldn't, we have that in common. I couldn't agree more. It's
a piece, and just to get out, like going up to the park and being able to just walk around there, nobody's there, just quiet. You
Yeah.
hear the birds sing, all sorts of stuff. And it's just really nice. The trees, it's just really cool.
yeah, it is. It's cool. That's one of my favorite parts of, that's the thing I miss the most. That's why I'm looking to, you know, I don't know if it's gonna work out. I mean,
Yeah.
finances, the whole thing has to, you know, all fall into play, but that's one of the things I miss about, we don't have the family homestead anymore.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite memories were in between the chores, right?
Mhm.
And I'd just be out in the pasture,
Yeah,
you know,
me too.
yeah. I miss it. I really miss it.
Yeah. Of course, I was raised in Western Kansas, very flat, but there's a lot of beauty out there too.
Oh, sure there is.
You know, a lot of people just go right by, oh, that's ugly, that's ugly out there. No, it's not. Just get off the highway, and go out in the country and see the beauty,
Well, I couldn't agree more.
beauty of the prairies.
What part of Western Kansas?
Northwest in Atwood, it's out in Rollins County.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Which is Rollins and then Cheyenne and then Colorado.
Uh-huh,
So,
yeah,
well, it's way out there. That's where my family homesteaded up there. too.
yeah.
Atwood and Udell area.
High Plains. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, the wind used to blow. Whew.
we did
You think we
the,
get strong winds here?
oh, out there's Pete, I tried to, you know, Lauren's moving down here. And as I mean, when she's down here, she's like, she was noting how much the weather changes,
Mhm.
right? And sometimes I'll get headaches out of it. And part of the way that I explain it, right, is because I have a passing interest in weather. I don't understand it, like
No.
I'm not sophisticated at it, but we don't have any topographical or natural features that interfere with the wind and with the fronts interacting.
Yeah.
And so,
You look up in the sky and see them all up there going this way and that way and colliding sometimes.
oh yeah, it's like there is a meteorological war that goes on, like the fronts, the cold and the hot fronts.
Uh-huh.
They're always battling down.
Oh, yeah. You can just see it. You go outside and look
Yeah,
around and go, whoa. That's why people go out and look to see, but tornadoes coming.
yeah,
Because it's such a wild show, basically.
yeah,
And then you're going, uh-oh, it's tornadoes.
yeah. We better go get in the shelter. Yeah,
I think that's what explains why people go out and watch it.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah. I really thought about that, but I think that's what it is.
I think you're right. And I mean, I have empathy for it. Like I do chuckle a little bit. Not at anybody that's from Kansas we all have tornado stories,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And it is something that we definitely don't take lightly, but I'll meet people that aren't from here. And the first thing they'll say, oh, what about the tornadoes? Right? And what causes me to chuckle is I'm like, yeah, we take them seriously, just like people on the coast take hurricanes seriously.
Right.
But the difference is the statistical likelihood that you're actually going to be caught in one, right? It's not something that we walk around and quake in our boots over. It's just, do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, it's something that happens.
it's something that happens, but you just take it seriously, and it's not something that you have to be unheavenly afraid of. You just take normal precautions, but people will act like, oh, you guys,
Yeah, it's terrible when you hit.
oh, sure it is.
But it's
But thank God they don't hit. It's like, that's what I try to explain to people. It's like, yeah, they're devastating when they hit, but it's pretty rare that they hit any one spot. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like, I mean,
all the time.
all the time.
It's
Right?
random.
Yeah, it's like that doesn't frequently happen.
You know,
So,
the weirdest one I heard was the one in, I think it was 2008, that tornado that hit in Chapman and then started bouncing. And you could see where it had gone through all the fields and it bounced into Manhattan, hit Miller Ranch first, and then it bounced down the hill down Anderson, boom, 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 hit
Yeah.
various places. It'd go up and come down, and then it went to the university and took out a couple buildings there. Then it went up to the country club, did some damage there, and then it took off. And I've never, that was so weird.
I those,
That was strange because and it went down Anderson and really took out a bunch of stuff.
those storms,
Really erratic.
they're, see,
Usually you don't get that.
yeah, usually you don't get that, but it's the people that study and understand them, to me, they're brilliant, because it's not something like my liberal arts mind. I mean, I'm pretty good with numbers from a,
Sure.
in some contexts, but like science wise, right? I look at these things and I'm like, this baffles me. I'm never gonna understand this. Yeah, that's right, right?
I'm the exact same way.
Right.
I don't get science at all.
I don't get this. It's like, God bless you, right? And I'm glad that the good Lord put people down here that think like that, because I ain't one of them, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. Yeah.
It's been a lot, but I lived a lot of different places, but coming back to Kansas was the best thing I did ever did. Come back home.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love those. We just had such a great quality of life. And
Mhm.
I try to explain that to people, if I'm in the airport or whatever from the coast. Especially because they think, oh, it's kids, there's nothing beautiful here. I'm like, yo, my friend, are you wrong? Right? Like, you need to drive I've had long conversations explaining to people, you need to drive the Flint Hills.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
And then come back and tell me that there isn't something beautiful here. There's beauty here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's calling people into his office. It's.
I'm going well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we've had that.
Hey, run upstairs. It's gonna be Jesus. Which one am I looking at? This email out with police from a big computer.
Consider it approved, at least on my. I'll sign off on it. Sure. Thanks for being patient.
It's got something. Yeah. It's got something done. Or something really bad.
I'm not celebrating after all, just 1 second.
Yeah, I would assume it's like we have,
That guy has.
coming from the local government family. It's like,
Nobody,
there's,
seems to be always, there's something really obvious.
right, not only have we got.
He worked at a
Mhm.
nursing home. And they told him he had some strategies.
No matter,
They also had, and then it's a Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm saying, you'll have to walk through.
Yeah.
So he'd been playing.
You've been fine. But you never know.
Well, when they did, kind of, on the song, but never, with nobody.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just, that's why it seems so strange.
See, I got a couple of things that I want to email from desktops.
Oh, yeah.
So long, I should. I'll just-
But can
I would.
Yeah, I think that's.
I think you should come back.
You think I should come back?
Yes, I think you should come
Oh,
back.
yeah. CAR that's more relevant.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and. You know, that they really didn't. They let him bounce up and. Who knows, they did, you know. I think that's just a decision. Okay. I didn't watch all that.
In fact, sure.
No, and you never know what somebody's going to do.
Always great.
Oh, you've now reached the limit of my IT knowledge. For that thing.
Okay.
Yes, I got it.
Nancy.
Yeah.
One more thing about
Sure.
that. Was that right? Yeah.
Careful with this bird.
Morning. There it is. We have to do a hearing on each one of those separate?
No,
No,
we'll do,
fire, I know.
yeah, fire we have to, but everything else is they're not exceeding revenue neutral, we do not. If they were to exceed revenue neutral, we would have to hold
Okay.
cemeteries reps.
Well, you can see where we go. I scanned through them, I told it, I said. I said, yeah, so.
Scott, Garrick, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Talking about you earlier, Garrick, were yours burning?
Oh,
Yeah.
Sat with Bruce. It was all good.
okay.
Go ahead. Yep.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Webb, Planning Director. So I have before you USDA Rural Development Housing Preservation Grant. And our chat this morning is going to be a little bit different than I planned and a little bit different than what's in your packet, and I will explain. So going through this process, they opened this this opportunity a few weeks ago, and I've been talking to some folks and doing some background work. And unfortunately, the reality is there's a lot that goes into this grant and it's due at the end of the month. And the reality is I'm not gonna be able to compile everything in time. But here's why I still want to bring it to you and talk about it rather than take it off the agenda. This is something that is done every year. So I would like to target next year for actually applying for this. That'll of course give plenty of time to compile all of the information. There's just a lot of in-depth stuff that they completely understandable, completely reasonable that they want. And again, I've been working towards compiling again, had some conversations with some folks. You know, and was intending on it, and unfortunately it's just, there's just too much that I'm not gonna be able to do within the next couple weeks, so. But it's still a very valuable opportunity that I would like to still progress towards, and of course, we'll have this conversation again next year before I would submit for anything or you know, do anything too in-depth. Of course, we'll talk to you folks again and make sure you're on board with it. But by then I would be able to compile a lot more information, a lot more in-depth information. What I'm thinking is I'll be able to talk about it and get some input from the community. Basically what this is, and I'm sorry, I just kind of got up here and just started talking about what I'm not submitting for it. I didn't really explain what it is, so I apologize. Basically, it's a grant opportunity where the county would apply for a set of funds from USDA Rural Development, let's say 50,000, 100,000, just to give you a number, that we would be given, if you will, to then allocate towards applicants who meet the requirements. So this is for low income or very low income residents or rental owners that rent to low or very low income citizens. And this is for repair and rehabilitation of rural housing units. So that's, there's a lot of different things. You'll see in the fact sheet that it lists some of the different things that eligible expenses and whatnot. These are for things like, you know, roof repairs or replacements, foundation, structural support, heating systems, those sorts of things that we could offer this funding towards for, again, low or very low income property owners or renters to help fix or replace these items. Again, very, very valuable program to be able to offer. I have had calls over the years from some folks, not a ton, for looking for funding of this kind of thing. They were low income, you know, needed to do some rehab to their home for these sorts of purposes, and we just didn't really have anything that we could offer. And I sent them to some different locations, you know, different like North Area Agency and a few other places. I don't know that they necessarily had that funding either. So when this came through my email, I thought it was definitely, Brittany and I chatted about it, thought it was, and I talked to Widow Bryant's as well, thought it was definitely a valuable program to explore. It's just a little over $12 million. This is a national program. Little over $12 million available to 100 awardees. So it's very, very competitive. So if you do want to go forward with it, again, I will talk more about it for next year. We're going to want to, of course, have a really solid application to hopefully, you know, get that approval and get some funding for folks here in the county.
That's what I figured.
Would that go for septic system? I know we have
Yes. Yep, water and wastewater systems would be eligible as
problems. I know
expenses.
we had, I know some people have had that problem that system fails. Fix it.
Yeah,
And I thought 50 to 100 doesn't seem like that much, but when it's divided amongst that many people, that's probably likely to get that much at least.
right, and I wasn't sure on the number either, as I kind of mentioned in here, I'm chatting with the gentleman at Flint Hills Area Builders Association, because what I was thinking was maybe getting some kind of estimates, if you will, from some builders to get an idea of, okay, what does it cost to repair or replace a roof these days? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, or a foundation or a wastewater, you know, that kind of thing. So he's gonna help me with some of that, just so I would know, is my number completely off base? I don't want to ask for too low and it's not going to do much of anything, but I also don't want to put an astronomical number in there and, you know, since it's so competitive, you know, so just waiting on some information from him to help me out with that. And again, that's part of what we can compile and get all put together for.
But it would just be for the unincorporated, it doesn't.
Correct,
None
just
of the
rural,
cities, none.
just, yeah, unincorporated, rural Riley County.
Not sure this funding those.
But we need to maybe have a number in mind or reach out and try to actually see some people that actually need that assistance. And
Right, and
develop
that's,
it,
and
'cause
that's what I'm thinking, so I can take this time to, reach out to some folks, kind of put the word out there, if you will, that we're gonna be looking into this grant funding next year. If you or you know somebody who, might fit this criteria and fit this need, please let me know, because I can kind of get a list put together. And then, yeah, we'll be able to be very specific about what we'd be able to do, who we'd be able to help, and the cost that it would, that it would need and all of that. So that's kind of my thinking, to take this time, not only to get everything the grant itself is wanting, but yes, to compile information like that. So again, we can have a really strong application to get some funding down.
Then if it works, you can keep, do it next year too, or.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Get one started just to see how it works.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Sounds good.
So a little bit of a pivot, but again, I thought it was so important to chat with you folks about it, kind of get your thoughts. And then I'll just kind of start going down the path. And then when it's time for next year, of course, I'll talk to you again and give you the full packet and make sure you're still comfortable with submitting and we'll go from there. So.
Is there a maximum amount you can apply for?
There's no maximum, but.
At
again-
12.2 million.
Right. So there's no maximum unless you're applying for something specific to disaster repairs, and I think it was working my materials. 250 or 100 or something like that. We would do it a little broader, where it's gonna be just the rehab and repair of all the different things, not specific to just disasters.
Okay.
So it's just gonna take some time to compile more information again, make a really strong application that we can get it approved next year. Any other questions or thoughts on that?
That sounds like it'd be a good program to try to see what we can get.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I didn't want to just abandon it, but.
As you're developing that, it would probably be, might not be a bad idea to get our federal representatives and staff involved with support letters on that too.
Absolutely, that's
Probably
great.
help. So when we get ready, let me know.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Next, Commissioner, we have Brian Heat at 10:05.
Well, 10:05. We got a few minutes.
He's ready.
Yeah.
They
Like
like
a
it.
deep breath, you'll be okay.
They like it. Somebody actually leaps over the chairs.
No, actually, I don't. I really don't.
You're started.
I got one already.
If it's extra, don't, only if it's extra. I mean, yes. Okay.
It's the same thing.
Thank
as the other.
Mhm.
It's.
Okay, gentlemen.
Stretching my leg.
Okay. It's all good. It's all good.
Good morning, Commissioner. My name is Scott Hyde. I'm a captain at the Riley County Police Department. Director Pete couldn't be here this morning, but he asked me to come and introduce Garrick Baker to talk about the feasibility study. I wanted to provide a little bit of background as to how we got here and why we're here this morning. When the director arrived a year and a half ago, one of the first things he did was begin this process of conducting a needs assessment of the agency to look at everything from our staffing to our equipment to our procedures, all that sort of thing. And he looked at data and he looked at our programs and he spoke with countless employees. And through those conversations, one theme that presented itself time and time again was we're out of room at our current building. For context, when the building was built in 2000, we moved into the building with 152 full-time employees. For 2025, we're slated to have 224, which is an increase of 72 people over that time in the same building. And of course, the staffing has gone up, our parking lot has gotten smaller. We have added parking over the years, but it's not an uncommon sight to see cars parked on the frontage road stretching out toward Home Depot. Our building has limited space that we can interview victims. limited space to hold juveniles who have to be kept separate from adults when they're in our facility. We've of course seen numerous technological advances over the last 20 years, but we haven't increased the space needed to house the equipment to maintain and operate that technology. Our communications center has grown over the years in terms of staffing and in terms of the amount of equipment and technology and monitors and things that they need to be able to do their jobs. And all of those technological advances are very welcome because it allows us to serve the public better. But as you add more items into that room and more people into the room, of course, the room just starts to get smaller. Our jail, of course, continues to see an increase in the number of people in it, getting closer to capacity. We have created a new pod, I believe it was in 2008, construction was done to increase the capacity of the jail. But those numbers continue to rise, particularly in our female population, which is a nationwide trend. But our female pod at the jail can house only 18, and that's in an ideal situation. But when an inmate may be on a disciplinary action or in a mental health crisis, that limits the number that we can have housed there. And it costs $45 a day to house an inmate off-site at a different facility. Now, also with our jail, we're continually looking for programs that can better the lives of inmates when they're in the jail. The majority of people who come into our facility, when they leave our facility, they remain in our community. So anything that we can do to make them better while they're inside, it's good for them and it's also good for the community. But it takes space to be able to do those programs. Along those lines, we have very little community space in our building, places to hold public meetings or to host community engagement events, just to do things that make us a part of the community. As you guys know, the city's only projected to continue to grow, both in terms of population and also geographically. And as population grows, so too our staff will grow, our vehicles, our equipment, and so forth. So it's probably not a question of if we're going to outgrow the building we're in, and it may not even be a question of when we're going to outgrow it, because the when is probably already here with where we're sitting right now. So with all that in mind, the director commissioned Baker McMillan Architects to conduct a feasibility study to look at what could be done in our footprint that we're in right now. And the court's like, no, RCPD is not asking the board for any action at this time. This study is for information purposes. It's to look at strategic planning and prioritization. We're of course aware of the realities of finance in 2024. But it's something we'd like to get on the radar and begin talking about. So with that, I'll have Garrett come up and talk about the study.
Good morning, commissioners. As the captain said, my name is Garrett Baker. I believe I know most of you by now. Been with the firm for about 11 to 12 years now, and this is actually our 5th project working with RCPD. So really great working relationship there and longstanding history. The firm was actually earliest involved with RCPD in that 2008 edition. I kind of said 2000 whenever it was originally constructed in our law board meeting, so I want to correct that. We weren't involved with that one, but 2008 and beyond. So I will go ahead and jump into our study here. So whenever we were first brought on, we looked at a lot of the background and research of the facility and the departments as well. So noticing that whenever it was consolidated and being a prime example of a police department such as this. And once we familiarized ourselves with the property, the department, we also looked at our data that we had. KBI actually publishes annual statistics on crime data. So we went through, and the earliest we could find back on that was 2003 for a complete set. So we looked at the previous 20 years, and then we also looked at projections for population. So we tried comparing those statistics to what the population would look like by 2044. So looking 20 years now. We also conducted department interviews. There's 10 individual departments within the police department itself. So we sat down, listened to their wants, needs, requirements, anywhere that they may be able to expand or additional needs. And then the jail capacity, so within your reports there as well, we go through all of the existing pods, the populations within each, and then the pod needs going into the future. So another female pod, a medical unit, and then just more general population. So I'm looking ahead, we were trying to figure out just how much space was needed, comparing that with those interviews that we also conducted, and just seeing what kind of trends and everything we had. So we were able to project out, get all of those numbers, our square footages and everything. And we were able to figure out our programming and planning is what we call it. So a multi-purpose room, an intelligence command center, training room, interview rooms, specialized training, and then quiet and break rooms for kind of those physical needs that were actually present within across all the departments. Then we also had some of those non-tangible items such as parking. Where are we going to put all of these vehicles with that much more staff there? And then consolidation. Right now, all of the departments are a little bit scattered throughout the building, so we want to try and bring all of those back together so everybody's working alongside. And of course, as we've been saying, the jail capacity there. So that staffing census projecting out by 2044, being up around 288 or so staff at the department. And then we were also projecting out maybe one fleet vehicle per year over the next 20 years. Now that we know just how much we need to grow and everything, we were looking at our available space within the building, and we have about 67,000 square feet existing now, but we need well over 100,000 square feet. So we're almost double in size there. At looking at the parking requirements, the site is limited. It's landlocked between all of the KDOT right of ways. We have the creek right there behind it, and then private property to the north. So we were trying to figure out which would be best, maybe a parking structure, or potentially looking at acquiring that north parcel there. And running the numbers, it was actually going to be more feasible to purchase that north lot and build the surface parking there than to build a parking garage. Parking garages are anywhere between 30 to 35,000 per stall versus potentially having acquisition costs, and the construction of a parking lot was closer to 20,000 stall. So saving 15,000 a stall at least. Then we look at the individual schematic layouts and trying to place everybody all together, again, that consolidation, and then making sure everyone had enough room. We're also moving the evidence base that is currently out in the kind of southeast building, moving that all in-house. Right now, they have to bring evidence across the parking lot and back into the building. This would allow all of that evidence to stay in one facility there. So in looking at some of the renderings here, that top left image is entry into what we would call our media center. This is also a multi-purpose room, so any type of training for the local departments, but also any outside entities that may want to make use of it, they are more than welcome to come over. If we have any kind of media days or anything like that, or celebrating retirements, as well as just any kind of community events, people are more than welcome to come in there. And that room itself will be completely secure from the rest of the facility. So that way, just general public can walk in there at any time. That second image, you start to see that addition off to the right-hand side. That's where a lot of the investigative departments, evidence, and then we also have a training room on the second floor, which I'll show you here. So to that right side, on that second story, that's where that training room is. But we're also looking well past the 2044 mark. So in planning for even more staffing, that training room could then be equipped with offices. So we're trying to build the structure in order to meet today's needs, 20 years needs, but then well beyond that as well. And then we just have a secure entryway there. Rotating around that addition, you start to see that in the background there. And then down below, we have our Sally Port that is existing. And then above that, we would anticipate an addition for more administrative spaces to handle all of those needs there. If we're backing out of that driveway, you see this large structure here. We would be building an outdoor yard for the inmates, which they currently do not have. So they can go out and get some fresh air, daylight and everything else. The larger two-story space at the main level will be a library and then 2 rooms that can be either used as a chapel or classrooms or meeting rooms or anything like that. And then up above would be another exterior yard. So you could actually have 2 different yard times simultaneously. But again, thinking well into the future, we're going to structure that lower level to withstand having another pod constructed above there. So just trying to get as much out of this initial investment to really stand the test of time. In terms of cost, we've structured it in 2 different ways here. So you can read the columns top down, and that will give you like the renovated areas versus the individual line items. If you follow those left or right, you can see what those costs are there for things like the administrative wing, the corrections costs, any kind of security system upgrades, and then the site improvements. Overall, looking at possibly $24 to $25 million for this complete investment. With inflationary costs and just the construction market the way it is right now, we were actually fairly impressed with those numbers coming back at a square foot cost of about $330. Unfortunately, I don't see that going down. It will only go up from there. So just kind of keeping that in mind. So wrap up, the things that we would be anticipating from this implementation would be reduced overcrowding in the existing cells and increased capacity in the new cells. More program space for inmates like the library, then also year-round sun exposure in the rec room, increased administrative addition, more capacity for officers, processing, investigations, evidence, everything across the board. Space for outside agencies and partners for community interactions and media briefings. And then increased parking, which is already needed, so we'll try and address that there. And then additions constructed with future growth in mind. So again, that training room can be converted into offices at a later date. That second story outdoor yard can be turned into another pod in the future as well. So not just looking at 2044, but then 54 and 64 well after. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Do these costs include purchasing property next door? That's where you show the parking.
Yes, so we were literally went on to Riley County GIS and pulled off just the land value. And that was how we kind of figured out our acquisition cost there.
Oh.
So just publicly available information there and divided that across however many parking stalls we had and everything. So it was included in the parking numbers for that.
When would that building be used for anything then?
So
Required it or you?
if that building were acquired, the idea would be to use the training room upstairs for now, but then if that ever needed to go to office space, that could be converted and then maybe that building becomes the new training building or something like that. There's all kinds of uses that can go there.
Which rainbow has this pot of gold that it?
Yeah. That's the
Good thing. Yes, can we bond that?
Last one was a ballot question. It failed originally for 13 million.
That's
reduced
why
to
you have
10
to go to the
million.
ballot, they have to go to the ballot. to
Yeah.
bond it though, right?
Mhm. Unless you found the rainbow.
Yeah, well,
it had to be a big rainbow.
yeah, big pot.
Yeah, we'd have to go to the ballot.
That's what I thought. You have to go to the ballot.
Ballot to get the authorization for the bonding is what you're asking for. You take something to the
And
ballot.
then also, if we, they're also increasing numbers of people, so that their allocation is also gonna go up, you know, the cost of operations is gonna go up.
Absolutely.
considerably.
Your annual appropriation would go up significantly, I'm sure.
But
Scott, you'd mentioned what the current person, what the numbers of personnel were like in 2000 or 2008. What was that?
In 2000, when we opened the new buildings, 152 full-time positions. That's everybody sworn, non-sworn.
What time is it? How much is it now? How many?
224 will be for 2025. So, and of course, that doesn't mean we've created 72 positions in that time. That just also has to do with staffing levels. I was hired just after that, 2001. So I don't know exactly what our staffing percentage.
You know where the majority of those were hired at?
Say again, I'm sorry.
Where the majority of those positions were hired at? Just because that number's, if I'm in your position, that number stands out as a large number of public employees hired over that amount of time.
Yeah, I don't have those in front of me to know what percentage of those are corrections, non-sworn,
That's
administrative staff, police
It's
officers.
almost a 50% increase.
And like I said, I didn't want that number to seem like we've created 72 positions over that time, because we haven't. That's just.
Yeah, but it's the number of personnel you're paying.
Sure.
so it's technically a position.
Yeah,
Well,
title's the same, but
yeah.
it is a position. So that caught my attention.
Yeah. You know, you have to bond this. There's just no getting around that. Sales tax, it would take 30 years. It just, and there's just not $24 million laying around. And I don't, just understanding the current frame of mind, I don't know that it would pass. I don't know maybe that it wouldn't, but I don't know that it would either.
Depends
So-
on, you know, what we end up with the final plan and the final numbers, but I mean, I think that this could be cut back some.
Yeah.
Director Pete, when he was hired, also talked about, when he was looking at facilities costs, about, you know, getting grants to cover this very anything that.
I don't think you're gonna find those.
And I was just wondering if he, and I know he's not here to answer, but do you have any?
So I do know the thoughts on this are finding the rainbow where it can be found. So looking for grants. Part of this included the possibility, and I want to stress that possibility of including space in our building for state partners and federal partners, such as the KBI and the FBI, having space in our building, which would then potentially open up possibly some state funding, some federal funding to be added into it. And again, these are all idea phases of things, but yeah, there's a wide variety of ways to look for that.
They don't have space allocated elsewhere, the federal agencies, FBI.
They
do now.
They do now,
but in terms of trying to keep all those law enforcement
Everything
agencies together, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it does. I'm just not aware of.
The building,
Yeah.
we have to expand the building.
The current plans, I think, would include space for that. Yeah, it wouldn't be an additional expansion to add that in.
I'm just not aware of any grants or federal dollars that's usually made available to build out space. Now, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that. I'm just not aware of it. So usually it's for operations or equipment or technology, that sort of thing. But if you can find it, I'm not against it.
Didn't know if he had any ideas or any insights or avenues for that.
Yeah,
Have to ask him.
possibilities. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I would defer to him for that for certain.
Yeah, I do have to admit the cost per square foot was a lot lower than I would have anticipated, particularly for this type of facility. So and for our EMS, it was up around $600 or something starting with, wasn't it? 610 or 615.
Now, does this includes all the technology that would go into it, but
Eric, I don't know if you can speak to that up on this included some of those.
We-
bring-in costs.
Work with a security specialist that works with a trainer out of Topeka. And they do a lot of law enforcement facilities. So there is a technology budget built into that. It's I think it was somewhere around 1 to 2 million just for that portion of it.
Well, it's, the numbers would, I mean, they put a contingency in there, security system. Some other things.
Security system costs 148.
Yes, so that was 1.8 million in there.
Some of that costs.
As far as technology, like a dispatch and all that.
This would be all new consoles as well as training consoles. So that way then whenever new folks get brought on, they're trained on those and then immediately can talk into their position.
I looked at the letter that the owners of the property to the north, that number seemed pretty high. And is there a way we don't have, that we can get away with not having to purchase that property?
The only other options that we would have is looking at some type of a parking structure there because the parking lot would not meet the needs for code on site there. So that's one of our only options there. If we want to go
Well, I think down there on that Midtown proposal that they did, they built the buildings up and they had parking below.
Yeah, that's what it was. Which show.
I think that was probably cheaper than building a parking structure. So. Because that hasn't been built yet.
Anything else, commissioners?
Anything else?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
For the time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next commissioner, you have Brittany Phillips up. 10:30. Only takes money. Actually, the price did not scare me knowing what the original one.
Yeah.
Today's cost, I was actually surprised.
Yeah.
It wasn't higher, actually. Doesn't mean it's any easier. I mean, but I was a little surprised at growth in staffing.
That's what it's,
Seems high.
It's 47%.
for 20 years. Okay, well, let's talk about something else.
Yeah. Good idea.
More things about money.
More monies.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Phillips, Budget and Finance Officer, here today presenting the indication of revenue neutral rate. We have to do this for every entity that you are the governing body for that levies a tax. So if they're going to exceed or not exceed, you have to vote to approve. And Commissioner Ford, I'm sorry, but your hand's going to get really tired. So, we will start with Riley County Rural Fire District.
I'm gonna yell at somebody at the state, don't worry about it.
This is the only entity that you, as the governing body, oversee that will be exceeding revenue neutral. With the proposed mill levy rate at 8.05.
That's quite a drastic increase. I mean, I know what occurred last year and everything, but when we have that hearing, somebody needs to be available to answer questions about that because
Yeah.
That's a pretty significant jump.
When I did advise Russell of the increase and told him how much he would need to cut it if he wanted to be revenue neutral. And he said he just didn't think it was feasible to cut his budget that much, otherwise he'd have to start cutting staff.
Mhm.
So. And I know he's actually, I ran into him when I was coming over here this morning, he's over in Salina, so that's why he's not here this morning.
We'll just make sure when we have that hearing, whatever it is, that's he or a delegate's here.
Yep.
That's, that needs to be explained. All open and transparent. Yes. And that's gonna be on the 22nd of August.
Yes,
If I remember right, we'll do this one first and then,
correct. We will start with the revenue neutral hearing for Riley County Rural Fire, and then we will do our entire budget hearing.
Right.
So we do them. Okay. I'd make a motion to approve the indication of revenue neutral rate for Raleigh County Rural Fire District number 1.
Second.
get back to my page here, sorry. We gotta do each one of them separately.
Yeah, you do.
You don't want to get caught like some.
No, I agree.
Yes, they're kind of the gold standard.
Yeah.
What you do not want,
So this is fire district 1.
Yeah,
Yes.
or what you want to avoid.
right. Okay. Okay, well, it's been moved in second to approve the indication of revenue neutral rate for Riley County Rural Fire District number 1. All in favor?
Aye.
Chairperson, please sign. Remind commissioners, of course, with all of these, you do have the statutory authority to reduce any budget. And you had some concerns. You may want to talk with Russell before the hearing
Yeah.
to talk about, because it's his recommendation, just like all of us, is a recommendation of budget to all of you, but you have the ability to reduce direct reduction of any of them that you're directly the board member of.
The
It
next,
is ultimately your approval.
the next one is the indication of revenue neutral for Raleigh County. And this one is saying, no, we do not plan to exceed revenue neutral and will submit our budget to the county clerk on or before August 25th.
Is that to the auditors now?
It will be tomorrow. I'm finalizing making sure every number is correct before I send it over. So I'm going through all my lines and I will send it over to him tomorrow. And I do want to advise you guys, this sheet in the packet is incorrect. We caught it this morning. Those numbers listed are actually last year's numbers. And so we had corrected them when Rich came in this morning. I handed him the papers, so.
On this one, it says 38.263. That's what we do. That's what, yeah, that's what it's been reduced to.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So we apologize for that mistake, but luckily Lori caught it this morning.
And actually, if you look at it, if you add all those up, it would actually add up to that number.
So do you have a corrected copy on that?
Yeah, she
Yes.
gave me corrected copies this morning, just before I came over, just before I came over.
Yeah. I just printed them.
This is the one that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily.
Yes.
It's the most important.
They're all important.
They're all important.
I'd move to approve the indication of revenue neutral rate for Riley County.
I would second that.
This stuff's slow. Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the indication of a revenue neutral rate for Riley County. All in favor?
Aye.
Next is Terra Heights. They're a benefit district and they are not going to exceed revenue. They do not plan to exceed revenue neutral.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve the revenue indication of revenue neutral rate for Terra Heights Benefit District.
Second.
Been Been moved and seconded to approve the indication of revenue neutral rate for the Terra Heights Benefit District. All in favor?
Aye.
Next is University Park Water and Sewer District. They also do not plan to exceed the revenue neutral rate.
Okay.
Move to approve the indication of revenue neutral rate for University Park Water and Sewer District.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the indication of revenue neutral rate for University Park Water and Sewer District. All in favor?
Aye.
Next is Valleywood Operations. They also do not plan to exceed revenue neutral.
I would make a motion to approve the indication of revenue neutral rate for Valleywood Operations Benefit District.
Second.
Excuse me. It's been moved and seconded to approve the indication of revenue neutral rate for Valleywood Operations Benefit District. All in favor?
Aye.
There's one more that is not in the packet that we got this morning. It's for Carson Sewer. They do not plan to exceed revenue neutral. So it would be the same motion that we've been doing. So again, apologies for that.
Carson Sui.
Carson Sewer.
Mhm.
Who's that?
Oh, I don't know where that is.
Where is it?
That is the one, that would be
It's in your
across from
mobile,
Barnes Road.
is that the mobile home park or is that a mobile home park area?
Yeah, it would include the mobile home. Uh-huh.
I just remember one
Over
being
in there.
associated with that. This is from a long time ago. This is.
Most of them I recognize, but I just remember this one.
It was Carson Mobile Homes
That's
was
it.
is where it got the name.
Oh,
The owners of that.
yeah.
That's how it got that name.
I'd move to approve the indication of revenue neutral rate for Carson Sewer.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the indication of revenue neutral rate for Carson Sewer District. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners.
Commissioners, you have Catherine Hensler, 10:45.
Why is there so many copies of this?
There's multiple copies of all of them. It's just the Carson Sewer one. We just paper clipped all of them together. So.
Late edition.
Those.
Thank you.
Really?
Don't make it check. Even $5 a person, it's just, I get like 3 or 4 things every day from all over the country.
Oh, really?
Ask. Easy.
You.
So she gave out my phone number. Look at me and say,
Sir, that all of them?
Better be.
Hope so.
I'm not mad at you. It's not your fault. It's just stupidity from the state of Kansas.
Statutory scheme is interesting.
It's
And it
stupid.
appropriately
It's
is called a
ridiculous.
scheme. Because it's a bunch of.
It's only coming from a group that didn't have to follow it themselves. You got a couple minutes?
Didn't take you long to get in trouble.
I know.
I know.
We were talking about the garden stuff. I had corn for the first time.
Uh-huh.
You gotta get, and I didn't get a fence, but I thought, well, just kind of have to keep watching because they said the raccoons and no one through. They got in it. I only had 15, 20 ounces just in one little square. They got in, tore into it, knocked everything down. The ears were this long. They weren't full ears, they were this long, and they tore them all up, tore them all up. They weren't big enough, so then they just left them laying there.
Yeah, isn't it amazing?
They just trashed everything.
Yep. They will. It's amazing how they know when that corn's getting
And
ready.
they said, yeah, what is it? Like, see, but it wasn't,
Mhm.
they said, oh, and I was saying, I'll have to keep watching it.
Must have been had the right smell to attract them.
But had something going on because and like I say, then they chewed on them and just left them there because they were, the ears were all this big, didn't have anything on them. But
That's why I gave up planting corn years ago because Mars is right next to our creek. It's
well, ours, my nose creek, I knew it, and I didn't get a fence up.
it's 40 yards from our creek, and I know that's loaded with raccoons. And so I
I
just
knew
don't
it
even
didn't have
bother.
like that. Well, I'll go ahead and give it a try anyway. And things some people talk about trying. It's sprinkled on.
I do keep my male dog out at night to patrol, and so I maybe could now. So he's our night watchman.
I didn't know you'd been the victim of raccoon vandalism.
Yeah,
And weren't even gonna bother eating it, just tear it up.
yeah, just got in there, tore them all down and they don't touch anything else,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd say he was did well too. It started.
I'll bet with all the water we've gotten,
They did real well.
it's been a good year for potatoes.
Pumpkin vines. Take it off.
Got pumpkins yet?
Yeah, I got several. These are just the eating pumpkins, but we got a few of them on the ball.
Yeah. I like about those, they're such a dark orange color. They're so pretty, those little sugar pumpkins. Been down in my garden since I got back. That's on my agenda tonight.
Okay. Sorry, Catherine, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Catherine Hensler, Director of the Raleigh County Historical Museum, here with your monthly staff update. So looking back at the month of June, we take a look at our visitation and tours. We had 372 people visit the museum, 139 to the Goodnoe House, 68 to the Wolf House, 54 to the Pioneer Log Cabin. And through our programs and outreach, we encountered 161 people. So for a total of 754 in the month of June, which are good numbers for us. Don't compare any of the other annual numbers to May. We always have great numbers that month because we do attend the Flint Hills Festival at the Discovery Center. That exposes us to a lot of community members and allows us to provide hands-on opportunities. Our numbers are quite good for the museum and the Goodnoe House in June. I will just remind you that we are participating in the Sunflower Summer Program, and that is through the Kansas Department of Tourism. There are 8 different sites in Riley County that are participating, and basically it's a program that offers free admission to families with children at all of these sites, but there's 220 that are participating through the state of Kansas. And so while we are already a free attraction, we participate in that. They advertise for us. And the really cool outcome is that the Department of Tourism does offer us a grant. So everybody that comes in under Sunflower Summer, a grant is coming to the museum. It of course comes through the society. As far as volunteer hours in the month of June, we had 160.5, which is great. That includes general volunteers, the Historical Society's Board of Directors, and our community service workers. I won't go through all of the education and outreach programs that we did in the month, but you can see they were quite numerous. Probably the biggest of note is the historic walking tours of city parks. So we conducted 2 additional, we had done 2 in May, did 2 in June. And while our tours were better attended in May, we still had 33 people come out those 2 additional meetings in June. We had a regular fireside chat, we had regular tours. We also hosted a number of groups through USD 383 for their History Time Machine program. And then also UFM had a team program that came out and met with us, as well as on June 25th, KSU Global Campus brought 19 students from Ecuador to visit the Wolf House. We did have our stone cleaning workshop in May Day on June 22nd, and 17 people attended that. So we were very pleased with that turnout. And what was really cool with that one, we had a really young demographic show up. So we had quite a few college students and also some elementary age children. So I'm really happy with how that program is going. Moving into collections, I will remind you that in May, the Society's Board of Directors did vote to enact a moratorium on our collecting at the museum, which essentially means it's a pause in accepting new donated items. And so that is effective until May 1st of 2025. And when you look at our numbers for April, May, and June of this year, you will see how much good it has already done. So we have only brought in 8 items in June, and some of those came in. They were already agreed to prior to the moratorium, and the donor just finally had the time to drop them off. And then we did have one item that was an exceptional item that was offered. We did not want to lose the opportunity of waiting an entire year, risking the possibility that it would not come back to us. So you will see numbers, hopefully, like this until May of 2025. Like I did say, we will make exceptions for objects that we feel are still essential to telling Riley County's history, but they're going to be few and far between.
Why did you just jinx yourself?
Well, we still reserve the right.
Okay.
And we do, so just to give you an example, this week we had 5 people walk in. We're only 4 days into the week. We had 5 people walk in the front door wanting to donate. And so we are still getting people coming in, but what we do tell them is, please, if you can hold off for a year. A lot of them said, sure, I can do that. If they can't, so for example, we have someone who recently lost a family member and they're cleaning out the estate. They don't have a year to wait. In a sense like that, we don't review things at the front door. We ask them to send an email to our curator with pictures and a description so we can make that decision. So we don't want to miss anything, but we will be pretty structured and firm in that we're not just going to take anything. I wanted to bring you some statistics about collections. We always talk about how many things are coming in and how many things we're accepting. But just to give you an idea of really what we have in our collection and how we've operated in the past. So going back to 2019, that year the museum brought in 1,995 items. And that is what they kept. So that's not counting what we turned in. In 2023, so last year, we only accepted 664. So the numbers are greatly decreasing, but not enough. So you can see why it was so important that we enact that moratorium. And then this is just for fun. This is for trivia's sake. Currently, the museum has 496 hats in its collection. I guarantee we're not going to use all those hats for exhibition and teaching people about local history. Doilies, 299. Chairs, 205. Wedding dresses, 74.
You can just have a bridal fair right
I know,
there.
right?
Good Lord.
Typewriters, 45. Pianos and organs, 20. So that is all being housed in the museum or some of our offsite storage. And so I'm just putting this in, and you all know, I know, you've done behind the scenes tours, but I think it's impactful to hear some of those numbers. So you can imagine how much room 205 chairs takes to store. So we really do need to find a solution for this. Well, speaking of collections, I do want to just bring you up to speed with our NAGPRA requirements. So you'll remember I've mentioned it a few times since January, NAGPRA, which is the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, has issued some revisions. So we are to comply to those. While we are not receiving federal funds right now, we would like to be eligible to receive those. And so this is just a museum ethics thing. We feel it's very important we follow. So the deadline for step one, which is to create a summary of all of the artifacts that we have at the museum dealing with Indigenous people and the tribes, was due July 12th. And we did meet that deadline, so that was submitted. And we received receipt on July 15th. That was received by NAGPRA National. Step two is now we are going to be reaching out to all of the relevant tribes and inviting them to consult with us. That will be due on August 12th. So Curator Munger and I are currently working on that list. We'll start reaching out to each of those tribes. After that, we don't need to take any action until a tribe reaches out to us asking to see these artifacts or asks for more information or asks for repatriation. Real quickly, going through archives and library, Curator Glasgow managed 19 new incoming patron requests from the public and one from an internal source in the month of June. We had 7 appointments made to use the research library, and there were 2 walk-in patrons. She continues to follow up with outstanding requests submitted previously, and with that many requests coming in, we do need some assistance with just the simple local research requests. So we have pulled 2 of our museum assistants in, Brantley Schiermeyer and Sydney Wolgast. They've been working with Curator Glasgow to ensure that research requests are handled in a timely manner. And then we also have a volunteer, Doreen Town, who has been assisting us for a couple months. She's been doing a great job. Additionally, we have 2 new volunteers that are training to support library and archives as well. Sometimes I need to pinch myself because right now I say there are no reports for building and grounds, which is great. I mentioned previously that we've had issues with our lighting. Public Works did come in and do a tour with us. They are looking at, we do still have some issues in our storage area that will need to be addressed. However, we are trying a couple solutions in the gallery space. They're kind of working right now, but we want to give it time to see if we can do something that's going to be cost effective rather than asking for a new lighting system. So other than that, nothing to report. Staffing, also nothing to report at this time. The Riley County Historical Society is on their 2nd month of working with the Flower Consulting, which is helping them both through board education and how to develop, or I should say, and working to develop and implement their new strategic plan. So we've had a couple meetings with them. We just had our first informal regional meeting, and I'm really encouraged to see some of the interest and engagement that we're getting from our board members. Their goal is to have a new strategic plan developed and presented at their society annual meeting, which is in November. So that'll be presented then to the members. And it'll be enacted hopefully by January 1st, 2025. And just a reminder, the society board is on recess until September 11th of this year. They do just historically take off July and August from their board meetings. And lastly, with some upcoming events, we do have a headstone cleaning workshop taking place this Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Ogden Protestant Cemetery. we've been working with your township supervisor, Marcy, who has been helping us greatly at getting this organized. So we're excited to present that. It is free and open to the public. It lasts until about noon, and we're really grateful that the heat has broken. So hopefully we have some nice weather. July 23rd, so next Tuesday, the Museum Board of Trustees will be meeting for their quarterly meeting. That'll be at the museum's Dallas Gallery at 4 p.m. August 13th will be our next fireside chat. The topic is currently to be determined, but those are always held at 5:30 to 7 at Place through Coffee on Points, and those are free and open to the public. That concludes my report. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Thanks, Catherine. The next commissioner, we have Elizabeth Ward 11.
Go ahead.
Right, good morning, Commissioners. Elizabeth Ward, Human Resources Director. And I'm here to discuss with you today how we would like to move forward with the impending vacancy for the county councilor position. As you are well aware, the county councilor gave his resignation by the time it's effective almost 2 years ahead of time. So we're expecting that to be vacant no later than December 20th with an official retirement date of January 1, which is how Capers works and how our fiscal year will work. We do know that we have had the deputy county councilor position open twice in this last year, and we've been able to look at candidates for that level position a couple times. We do currently have that position filled, and I think, you know, the card talks about it, but the importance of both these positions, I think you're more than aware of in all of the departments that they work with. Interestingly, because of our experience this last year, and then also the related experience of filling some of the county attorney positions, we know that the skill set that we're looking for is unique. Not only do they need to be certified with the Kansas board and be able to, you know, practice law in the state of Kansas, but we really want that public service experience with either a city or a county, and they have a little bit of uniqueness there. We have obviously different purpose. We're not looking for someone who is going to prosecute, but someone who's going to advise on the civil aspects to the commissioners. So based on that collective experience that we've had, the county counselor's office, myself, recommend you consider an internal promotion to the county counselor position, which is within your purview to do for policy. And the benefit to that would be looking at our time frame. If we are able to say, okay, we have the county counselor in place starting January 1st, we can focus on the deputy county counselor position, filling that, and using Clancy's experience to train and mold the next generation, transfer all of the knowledge, well, at least some extent, the knowledge that he's obtained over the next couple of months, since we are looking at a short turnaround for the counselor's position. We did, if you'll remember the budget, we did have a training period approved, so I've got some numbers in there. So we're not asking for any type of an additional funding that hasn't already been approved in 24. So what we had foreseen at that point, which is now a little over a year ago, is that we would have that deputy county counselor position filled. We would fill the county counselor with a overlap of a training period. And so we had that budgeted in. And at this point, what we'd like to do is use that training period for having 2 deputies in place, with Clancy leading them until his departure, and the expected promotion, the verified promotion of our deputy county counselor. So that would be looking at the expected cost then for the budget. This is all budgeted in and what you've already seen. There's nothing going over either 24 or 25, but this would be where we would expect wages to fall in 25.
No, you said the approved budget, you used to have the 2 listed, but we also had an extra 4 months or something.
We did, that's in here. So this is you're right. We had this as well as the 3 months of training. And so we were suggesting that we use that a dollar amount here.
Right. So
Yeah.
proposed, but it was in the approved too.
It was also approved, yes. Yep, I apologize. Yep, the pay grades approved, but there was also training.
A training of an overlap,
Yes.
but it'd be an overlap for the deputy position instead of the.
It'd be an overlap in the deputy position instead of the counselor position, which is if that's.
Should be.
It could go either way, yeah. I mean, if you'd want to, I guess just talking amongst ourselves, it made more sense to leave one person as the counselor and kind of in charge of then what we're transitioning out. But also know that we would not have to fill that counselor role. And as Clancy and I have talked about, if you decided to promote internally, Bryant would need to start taking that perspective, right? He's going to be training as the counselor and as the lead in the office versus training as a deputy.
So is there money in there for training Bryant for that?
Yes.
For the council? Okay, I
Yes.
didn't quite understand.
Yes, the proposal would be to promote Bryant
Right.
Parker to the counselor position, but not effective until 2025. So we'd end up having 2 deputy counselors, one that knows, you would be saying, yes, we'll promote to the counselor, and one that would remain in the deputy position. That would also allow Clancy and Bryant and myself to be selecting the deputy so that there'd be a good fit there with Clancy's oversight.
We thought that'd be useful too in another way, just if the board's willing to do it, because then whatever person fills that second deputy position will have an opportunity to work with Bryant as that person, his or her next supervisor, which would be of some value.
I don't think we've ever seen a resume from Bryant since he was hired under.
Yeah, probably not.
I'm not sure he's even gone to law school.
Oh, shush.
He's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is that, with this process, we can go through the logistics of it however you want. So if you would like to do an interview and have a discussion with Bryant and it can be more or less formal. I mean, you can do that prior to the appointment. But I guess our permission today would be to fill internally. That's what we're requesting. And obviously you can do a number of different things.
And if he makes you mad in between now and January. You still have the opportunity to really disappoint somebody. I'm being honest about the options here.
As you should be.
Yeah.
Basically on a 2-week contract, right? Yes.
I don't know, if this guy approves a contract, I guess what can I do to?
We won't be doing any contracts.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And now this is what our recommendation is, but of course, you could continue to say, okay, let's open the counselor position externally. We can do the whole interview gamut with it, and then potentially, depending on who you choose, open the deputy position or not. The time frame of that is extensive. We expect the best candidate to be the internal candidate who we currently have in training at Riley County, but we haven't opened a counselor position, so we don't know if we would get different candidates than we have for the deputy.
Well, I'm comfortable with the promotion.
Yeah,
As I spent quite a bit of time with Brian. He's been here long.
I will tell
He
you
was in
too,
Manhattan once and he came back, so.
Yeah.
That's one.
during the time, I mean, the fact that I'm going to retire, since I made the announcement pretty early, as was requested, it's been out there among my professional association. There's only been one person who called. I'm not saying there'd be no interest, because this is a different time, different time has passed. But there's only been one person who even inquired about knowing that I was going to retire, submitting, giving any interest in this position. And he's sitting over there. And that's when he was told by me that, well, no, that's not open yet. But we do happen to have a deputy position if you're interested in doing it, and then showing what you can do, and hopefully the board would be inclined, possibly. Made no promises.
That was abundantly clear.
No, abundantly clear, because you never know how that interaction is going to go. But I said that at least would be some opportunity, potential, and he was clearly qualified for the deputy position. And we've had an opportunity to work together on a lot of things. Department heads have been exposed to him, and I think it's been very positive from the feedback I've gotten.
I would add that the board, it's not gonna hurt my feelings either way, obviously, right? So I didn't want that to be any kind of a consideration. So, but I do enjoy working here very much and would like to stay here for years to come.
Okay.
Need a motion.
Go ahead. Move to vote Ryan Parker to county councilor position effective January 1, 2025. With starting salary of $179,870 annualized, and open the deputy county councilor position with an intended start date of August 15th, 2024.
I would second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to promote Bryant Parker to the county councilor's position effective January 1st, 2025, with a starting salary of $179,870 annualized, and to open the deputy county councilor's position with an intended start date of August 15th, 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
You would be sure
I
to
was
give
just
them
gonna
his
say-
resume, because
I was just gonna
at
say
that
thank
point,
you.
they will no longer work for him, but for them. And it would be an awkward situation that they haven't at least seen that.
Agreed. Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say is thank you, and I appreciate it, and we will work on filling the deputy position, and I will forward you each his resume so you can get a good idea of his experience.
Thank you, commissioners, very much.
There's a few things on.
Please,
Now's the time to start pumping it up a little bit.
I have the previous version, so.
Yeah, we gotta be aware. We've got.
Just keep it in English, please.
Keep it in English. Let's just say that I don't put all the initials behind my name that I probably,
Okay,
but.
fair enough.
I believe, John, once you get signed up, I'll have separate time, I think.
You can just keep going. We're good.
Okay, so then my second request is to fill the community corrections director position, and this is also a unique situation, both of this morning are. But in February of
Wouldn't have it any other way.
we wouldn't. What would we do? In February, you will remember that you approved an interim director of community corrections for a period of 5 months. So that would, we'd be looking at about September 1st is when that interim appointment would be ending. So we have had an interim candidate, an internal candidate filling that position. I think you are all well aware that this is a critical position to the operations. It is also a required service that Riley County provides. And so we did talk about what this community corrections department ensures. And I do think it's interesting. We don't always talk about this, but they literally, their mission is to provide a cost-effective means of promoting public safety. And we talk about public safety a lot when we talk about the attorney's office and different areas, but that's literally what they're supposed to be doing for our community. And I think in many aspects are doing that. So fiscal impact of our proposal is that it is this position is included both in the 24 and the 25 approved budget. The 24, we had to make some concessions and kind of manipulate those positions so that we could stay under budget. But with 25, we have both positions budgeted in the proposed budget. So nothing would change to what you've seen and been proposed. You've got the pay range in there. It's a DD, so the minimum annualized salary is $99,988, and the mid range, which is generally what we would never hire over without explicit permission from the commissioners, is $129,968 for 24. And if the COLA is approved, that would be added to that number. So we would like to see that you open the position with an intended start date of September 1, 2024. Just to kind of get ahead of potential questions, we do believe we would have potentially 2 internal candidates. We also believe that we would be very competitive for external candidates in this position.
So are we going to set a deadline when applications come in?
So generally, we leave the position open until filled. We review applications until filled, but we would probably start interviewing. I mean, we need to see how they come in. I'd like to interview no sooner than 2 weeks before we advertise. And if we have a good group of people that you'd like to interview, then we go ahead and interview at that point. But if we are not, we have to work a little harder to recruit and fill.
Not say we need the time. Interview candidates.
Yes, yeah. And I do want to mention the 2 internal candidates that we have, although both are strong, neither one currently is a resident of Riley County. And so that is going to be a challenge to filling internally. We currently do have a resolution requiring all department heads to be residents of Riley County within a certain period of time. And I'm not speaking for them. I'm not saying that they wouldn't move or consider that, but that would be a consideration we have to discuss.
Well, I would still like to start there first
Internally?
internally.
Okay, all right, we can do that.
And see if we can work through that particular challenge
Okay.
while possible.
Yeah, and we do have qualified candidates,
Yes.
except for that requirement. And again, I don't want to speak on their behalf. It's just where they are right now. So we could do that. And then to meet, I guess then to follow up on your question, I would suggest no more than a week of internal, having it open internally, accepting applications, discussing that. And if we don't have internal candidates, to then open externally.
Wouldn't it be easier since we're on time zone, just open it up?
That's what I think.
Right.
I think we do.
Internal.
Everything's too good.
I'm of the opinion that we've got an internal candidate that will probably meet the policy requirements. And it'd be quicker just to get that done and over with than going through the entire process.
Well, we can get it set up, within a week.
Yeah.
Depends on our schedules.
Well, and I didn't present it to you, but you all have the ability to fill this however you'd like. And so, obviously, if our internal candidate met all of the requirements, we potentially would be recommending we fill from the internal. I didn't go with that route because I'm not sure if we do have that candidate that meets all of your requirements, but you have the ability to say, hey, we want to promote the interim director or one of the 2 internal people as long as they meet your expectations.
Well, we probably need to meet with both of them. If there are two, we need to interview both of them.
I mean, I can definitely set that up and we can look at your calendars to set it up as soon as you're available.
So I don't have clear direction if we're going with just internal first, or if we're gonna open it up to all and we need either a consensus or a vote. Either or, because Commissioner McKinley and Catherine initially said we might just want to open it up, so. And it's the broader discussion, but sooner rather than later, you're gonna have to talk about the residency, because then I know it makes it more difficult when there's someone already on staff, and hopefully it made clear to Bryant what the expectation is, but we've had some that have come from outside of our community that weren't internal candidates, and we've said you must.
Mhm.
And I don't think the rule should be different than those that are already here if we're requiring those. And so that's the other thing you have to think about as commissioners.
Yeah, so just to touch on that, obviously that's a separate topic from specifically this position, but there is a resolution in place. It was passed in 2018 by the commissioners. It does require all department heads to be residents of the county, as long as, and that requirement includes the ability to vote and the ability to register a vehicle. So you are able to rent or purchase, however, but as long as you're a legal resident of the county. I have, this has been a topic of conversation with the counties for a couple of years. And so I've kind of went back through my emails and compiled lists. Many counties do it. Many counties don't. So it's the commissioners that have to decide, but I think it's extremely important. What Rich said is that we have a rule that applies to all department heads currently. So you either have to make a specific written accommodation for one or two, which I would recommend, or you have to hold it true for all, or remove the requirement.
And I don't mean to derail it, but it is abundantly important. And to correct you, it's not been a couple years, it's been 20 years. It's a discussion topic.
Oh, yeah.
And as you know, it's because the taxpayers of Riley County are paying for them. Any elected official doesn't have that option.
No.
Right.
All
Right.
elected officials have to comply
Absolutely,
with
yeah.
that. And so it's just something that there are current situations we need to discuss if that's going to continue the policy enforcement. You are the only three that have the enforcement
Mhm.
ability. We're knowledgeable of situations to inform the board. So we're going to continue that route. Then the candidates need to know the internals that we have, but then also then we're going to come and say, okay, here's the situation with this one. We need to enforce it.
Well, I think it's a good resolution, a good policy.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm not up to changing that.
I think that's fair. You got two different directions you can go there. You're not forced to buy something, but
And I mean, as far as organization goes, I don't disagree with Rich. I do think that, it is taxpayer money that pays salaries. It is legitimate expectation from taxpayers. I think some of the other human resources departments and maybe even hiring departments have said, well, it limits our ability to hire. Some counties have done like a radius situation, so within 20 miles of outside of the county, but really to me, that's only applicable to fire and deputies and police officers that need to respond immediately. And they're two different points. Responding is different than taxpayer.
Some counties will have 3,000 people,
Yes,
they
that's.
they have a limited
Right.
resource there.
We have made some accommodations for department heads who've got children in school, if they want to finish
Yes.
for a year or something like that. We have made
Yes.
some accommodations that way.
To my knowledge, you haven't, the board and passports have never exempted someone from the requirement, but they have given them a extended time period, based on very specific and personal reasons, yeah.
And Elizabeth brought up a good point, and the commissioners did as far as the pool to pull from. And then the other thing is we pay a competitive salary.
Yeah.
To where someone can afford to live in our community.
yes.
We do. And I think that's good it's just such a big picture, right? And so when we go out and we say, oh, let's compare this position to this position in a different county, we have to take all of that into consideration. And Rich is right, we pay a very good competitive salary. We have expenses that go along with living here. We could make the same argument in every other county. We haven't had a shortage of applicants, which may change my advice if we really couldn't fill positions for an extended period of time. But we're not experiencing that.
But in terms of this position, I would like to try to look at it internally first
Well, yeah, and,
and then go externally if we need to.
but time wise, we're gonna have to move on that pretty quickly.
Yeah,
If
that's
they
fine.
can't do that,
Right.
No, I think we can, it's legitimate to know that. It's legitimate to know whether or not we have one or two internal candidates that meet your expectations within.
And that should be an easy question to ask and figure out. I mean,
Surprisingly more difficult than you think,
Well,
but
but-
yes, I think we were at the point where we just need to.
Yeah,
Well, it's a difficult decision for those individuals, but they have to make that decision sooner rather than later. And so is it a consensus of the board to go internal for a week?
we should give enough time and then it's not gonna open it up, yeah.
Okay, and then if that is the case and we have internal candidates, I will work with you to schedule any interviews or one of these doesn't do. Rich, do you want it, you good with consensus on that, or do you want to have a?
Consensus and vote hold equal power, so it's whatever the board prefers.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're. So I think you would still, to me, in my mind, you would still sign this vote sheet. I want you to only open it concurrently.
It's hard to say on there just for 1 week.
Well, he can actually write in that additional comments. You can write in internal opening for 1 week.
So, it would be the 25th or 6th, whatever.
What's that?
I said, yeah, make it through the end.
Through the end of Friday, the
26th.
26th. God.
And this is, I'll make it a priority to get this accomplished in that time frame. I mean, we do have excellent candidates internally, so. We'll find out if they're able to meet our expectations.
Your commissioners.
Internal stuff.
I just added it on the consensus here. Yeah, the board agreed by consensus to open the community corrections director position internally for 1 week, Friday, July 26, 2024 through July. And I put if no internal applicants meet all qualifications, the position will then be opened. External one.
All right, thank you very much, commissioners.
okay, well, that was the last item on this morning's agenda, and I don't have anything else to add, so.
Just remember 8 o'clock tomorrow, commissioners.
Right.
Okay. Boots and shovels, no, you have those.
It's a ribbon cutting, it's not a grant.
Oh, it's a ribbon band, okay.
Ribbon cutting.
Was I missing something there? We're gonna build a second one.
No. Ribbon
Oh,
cutting,
that's right, it's
ribbon
ribbon
cutting birthday cake.
Yeah, with her.
Catherine, everybody has to bring their own pair of those giant scissors.
Ribbon.
So you've got one at home, right?
Yeah, I
I
got
don't know, remember her with a letter opener? Are you sure about that?
I have scissors here.
They can be kind of the preschool type. They don't have to be sharp.
We better quit while we're ahead.
Yeah. I would make a motion to adjourn the July 18th meeting of the Board of Riley County Commissioners.
Second. We moved and seconded to adjourn the July 18th meeting of the Riley County Commission. All in favor?
Aye.